Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Centrick Talks Property. Today we're joined with Phil from LOKI Wines, founder of LOKI Wines. Really excited. We're behind the scenes at his Knoll location. So a lot of you will have seen this coming together, but there's a lot going on out there, Phil. So yeah, give us a rundown about yourself, about the new location.
Well, really delighted to be here with you and get to show you the new site. So really good. I mean, I started LOKI in 2012. Before that, I went to University of Manchester, but I'm Birmingham born and bred. Sure. And it was really weird when I went to University of Manchester. I know probably a lot of people experienced this back in the day. I said to myself, I'm probably never going to come back to Birmingham. And it was it was one of those like horrible things that back in the day, people thought like, you grew up here and then you went to London, you went to Manchester. Yeah. And then I came back here just one holiday. And
it was a magnetic draw.
Yeah. but saw how much Birmingham was developing and how just ridiculously it changed.
And at pace.
Yeah. And I just thought, I really want to come back here and I want to do business here. And it's been...
And wine it was.
And wine it was.
So talk to us about that. It's quite a niche industry to get into. How did you fall into it? And how did LOKI arrive?
Well, I'm not being flippant where I said this, but it's basically just that I was a really good drinker at university.
Right, okay.
And I kind of got my first job in wine, working in a wine shop. I'll readily admit it. I actually didn't really know anything about wine. I was a typical student, beer drinker, vodka Red Bull, maybe. The closest I got the closest I got to wine was probably like a cheeky Vimto.
In reflex.
Yeah, exactly. But then I got a job in the wine shop, and I realized really quickly that I just had a really nice natural palate where I could really pick things out in wine, and then that kind of piqued my interest. And I had a couple of really good managers who kind of got me to explore the subject a bit more. And when I left university, I was like, right, do I want to work 9 to 5 or do I want to give this a crack? And
so a complete fluke almost.
Definitely 100% a fluke, because it's never been in my family. Everyone always says, "Oh, you're in wine. Your dad must have been into wine." It's like, no, my dad drank lager.
Cans of Carlin.
Well, exactly. And
other lagers are available.
He was actually partial to a San Miguel. That was posh back in the day. Remember?
Bit of European. Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So 3 stores now, 3 locations, or soon to be. Opening in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Why Knoll? Why Solihull?
Well, really interestingly with Knoll, actually, I'm going to talk a bit about this unit because when I first started off in wine, Knoll was actually one of the national training centres for Thresher Group, which who owned Wine Rack, and this actual store was a Wine Rack. So it's really interesting because
it's a busy few days. He's setting up his new store.
So down here was a wine rack, and up in the offices above there was their basic training centre. So I kind of, this is the first shop I ever worked in wine. And I learned kind of all the basics about wine upstairs. So it was really, there's kind of sentimental reasons for it.
Full 360 back to your roots.
Of course.
There you go.
But then, you look at Knoll, and actually, again, not dwelling too much on the pandemic, but looking at people's behaviour and how that's changing, I just think this sort of area is really going to flourish. And I looked at Knoll in general. Really good demographics for the sort of key customers that I want. Yeah. But then also a really good high street, like really good units, really good quality as well. And I'm a firm believer in business of really clustering. Yeah, I don't see people as a rival. I see it as a cluster bringing more people
business
in
together almost to create that foot flow.
Exactly. I think Knoll probably needs ideally another 2, 3, maybe 4 restaurants and a couple more bars for it to really be complete. Yeah. But it's really on that upward trend, and I saw very similar similarities to when I set up Great Western Arcade. So when I set up Great Western Arcade, you'll probably remember it, 2012, like Great Western Arcade, I had the pick of about 80% of the units in there. That's how dire it was then. And now when you look at it, it's nearly 100%. Pretty much
fully occupied, isn't it? Yeah.
And that's the change in Birmingham. It's really exciting, and I definitely see this area as well is going to have a real boom.
Similar trend. Yeah, definitely. So while we're on the commercial space and searching for properties, let's just touch on that. Obviously, as I suppose an end user or a consumer of commercial property, how have you found that sort of movement, looking for premises, and what's been some of the positives and some of the negatives from dealing with the commercial world?
Well,
don't name anybody.
I will not name anyone. No. I mean, it's difficult because, especially on the retail side, we're seeing a real shift. And I'm a big fan of high street. I love shopping online. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a dinosaur. But actually, there is something amazing about going into a place, talking to someone who's got real expertise, showing you something unique. You can't do that online. No. And however much you try to package it up with recommendations, stuff like that, is not the same. We're at that real crossroads where I think some landlords are still thinking back in the day where they could name the price and upward only rent reviews, all that sort of thing. But I think the tables are kind of
competitive.
It's a bit more competitive, but I think that's a good thing. But I don't think it should go too much the other way either, because I think the way business works, everyone needs to succeed, everyone needs to make money, and that includes the landlords. I think landlords are kind of quite often forgotten in that. People always see like the evil landlord, but at the end of the day, someone owns this property, someone's bought it, maintains it, does all that sort of thing. You know what? They deserve the
need a slice of the pie as well.
They do, exactly.
Absolutely. Okay, brilliant. And obviously, just moving into the residential world, then I suppose you and I have spoken a few times about residential searches and property. What do you think makes a real good entertaining space in a property? Because that's something that was big on your priority list, and being one of the number one entertainers in Birmingham, apart from our chairman, that was really important to you, and I think right up there on your sort of tick list of necessities, really. Yeah. What do you think a property needs to offer to become a great entertaining space?
Yeah, I mean, entertaining space, I think, is key, and especially, over the next few months where things are starting to open up, I think people are desperate to
have some friends around.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I can't believe when was the last time I had people around my house? It's like bloody ages ago. But I mean, I think good entertainment space, it has to have the kitchen in with everything else, a nice open plan situation, because my missus is an amazing cook. She absolutely loves cooking. And loves entertaining as well. Well, it's great for me because I love chatting and drinking, and she loves cooking, so it's a perfect
marriage
combination.
Made in heaven. Quick propose, Phil.
She actually said to me that she's very happy cooking as long as I keep her company with a glass of wine. I'm like, happy days, thank you very much. But she always thinks that in previous apartments that we've had together where the kitchen's separate, you either have to kind of like huddle all in the kitchen, which then you've got your whole living space being unutilized, or she's there cooking on her own or with a friend, like keeping her company, and she feels like she's missing out on the action.
Fun's happening in the living room.
Exactly. So I think a nice open plan space, but one of the things that I think a lot of residential developments at the moment kind of scrimp on is kind of the size of the kitchens as well. Like they're very small, a lot of them. And it's really interesting. Obviously, I won't name names of developments, but even some like new developments where everything's top spec, like the oven is like the highest spec you could buy, and everything's amazing, but it's so tiny, it's like almost impractical it's
almost a waste.
Exactly.
I mean, there's some developments we've worked on recently, and they've really, I think, listened to the buyers' trends, and actually they've created quite a large kitchen living area on the back of the home, and then there's a smaller snug on the front almost, which is when your friends are gone and you've stopped entertaining, you put a movie on and you chill out. But actually the majority of the time spent is going to be around the kitchen. So, encompassing a dining area with that, a seating area with that, so that, if you've got kids or like you say, you're entertaining, it's a family unit almost. So I think the trend from our point of view, we're seeing that massively, and you've just sort of resonated with that. So definitely not uncommon for the developers now to start doing that, I think.
I think also bedroom sizes are like, I've got an apartment above the Radisson, obviously, and that was a great bachelor pad. Don't get me wrong; it was absolutely fantastic. Great views, tiny kitchen, massive living room, and then the spare bedroom is just so tiny. But the idea is that, for me, when I lived there on my own, and it was a nice place for mates to crash if they came round.
I think that's a lifestyle choice, isn't it? And I think the developments were pitched at that market. So okay, brilliant. And obviously, like we said, don't want to dwell on the pandemic. I think everybody's had enough of hearing about it. But you guys as a business have really adapted, and almost I'm wondering if some of the stuff you've been doing, which I'm sure you can tell us about, is you see a future in that. There's online wine tasting with cheese and meats on a Saturday evening and stuff. So, I've seen that and it's been so popular. Do you think that's, a trend for the future? Or do you think once we're back open, do you know what, everyone will just be back in the premises?
Yeah, I think there'll be a bit of both. I mean, I'm not going to lie. At the end of March, when the first lockdown happened, we were just going like, Jesus Christ, what do we do?
What are we going to do?
My God,
I think everyone had that 2-week panic of how do we survive?
Yeah. And it was just ridiculous. And I sat down with all the management team and just said, right, well, we're going to survive this. What are we going to do it? What are the tangible, easy things that we can do? Well, we've got loads of stock. We've got wine. Let's sell it. Yeah. I mean,
you've got the product.
You've got the product. And the idea, even at that point, was just like, well, let's just free up as much cash in the business as possible. Yeah. And then I was like, after we've done the tangible things, let's do the things that we're really good at and that are fun. And one of the things that I've always loved to do is events. Mm-hmm. You've probably been to our Christmas wine fair and stuff like that. 800 people in the council house. That's the sort of event we really love to do. And then even our smaller weekly gin tastings and cheese and wine tastings. Love doing that because you get that real connection with the customer and you get to explore wines with them. Yeah. And
I remember walking past one at your, like you say, the Great Western Arcade shop, and it was literally like a dispatch unit. There was just boxes with Post-it notes all over them. And
exactly. It's just like trying to turn the operation from retail customers walking into delivery operation in no time
complete
at all.
180 in a matter of weeks. Yeah.
And then doing our online tastings have just been incredible. Like I remember I sat down at the beginning. I said, if we get 40 people turning up on a weekly basis, I'll be happy, and we'll keep doing it, and that's great. And last week we had 280 people, and we consistently get over 200 people every single week at these tastings. And what the virtual world's actually given us, which you can't always do. And like it or not, Birmingham, when winemakers visit the UK, Birmingham isn't the top priority for them because they look at their top 10 accounts in the UK, guarantee they'll all be in London and go, well, easy days, we can spend 5 days here, do 10 venues in London,
of course,
and fly back out again. And it's one of the problems maybe with how Britain's structured, but
super city almost.
Exactly. And I can see that from a winemaker point of view, you want to spend your time with your best customers. Everyone's going to do that, but it just happens that London probably has the best 50 customers. So it makes it very difficult. And one of the things that we've really managed to open up with this virtual tasting, because it is less of a commitment, it's an hour and a half of your time, is getting winemakers from all over the world. So we had, 2 weeks ago, we had an Australian winemaker. This week, we've got a South African winemaker. It's amazing that, with this technology. So I really
don't have to travel to come here anymore. You jump on Zoom.
Don't need to travel. And people don't need to travel either. I mean, actually, how nice is it to get the wine delivered to your house and not actually have to leave, especially if you've got kids. It's such a good thing. And
do you think that will be something you'll stick with?
100%.
I suppose you'll see how demand goes, but
100%.
Yeah,
I don't doubt that
it will change in trend almost.
Yeah, we've already done polls and stuff with our customers, and a lot of them, in particular, the people without kids or with older kids are desperate to come in store.
Get us out the house.
Exactly. But the people with young kids, actually, you know what? After they put the kids to bed, it's a hassle. You need to get a babysitter. Then you need to, and then you're on a time limit. You can't get too drunk in case something happens. Yeah. Whereas at home, you feel a bit more comfortable and at ease. And I think that's one of the key things. So I think that aspect will remain, and we're really, really going to push it. I mean, coming out of COVID, the great thing, and I shouldn't say the great thing about COVID, but the good thing about COVID is that I had, stuff like improving our e-commerce offering. I've had that on my agenda for years. It's like literally years and years and years. It's been on my agenda, and I have literally didn't do anything about it because obviously the shops are doing incredibly well. The bar side's doing really well. Well, why? It's almost like, well, why do we need to do that? And it's really pushed us into that direction. So the way I see it is that although I've gone from 2 to 3 stores, I've really gone from 2 to 4 stores because online
you've got the dispatch option now.
So we've got that option, which actually counts as a completely new store. So in a pandemic, we've managed to double our size.
Yeah, fantastic. What a great story. Story. So, and I think the message is we're all drinking a little bit more at home. So since the pandemic. So
me too. I genuinely think that I didn't think I could drink anymore. Like literally I thought I was at the limit, and then the pandemic happened. I was like, Jesus, what else do you have to do?
1 o'clock.
Exactly.
It definitely turned into European or Italian, should I say, drinking every day. So okay, well look, thanks very much for showing us around your new store today. It's very exciting. We can't wait to see it open. I'm sure it's going to do fantastically well in Knoll. Everybody we speak to can't wait for it to arrive. So thank you very much. One final question. Describe to us your dream home.
Okay. Oh, well, I'll describe mine and then I'll describe my fiance's because it's a very different thing. This may be the
nail in the coffin.
Yeah, exactly. I've always grown up in. So I grew up in Harborne. Nice house with a really nice south-facing garden. Yeah. And kind of that's
I've a traditional.
Yeah. And I really like kind of old Victorian houses and period properties with a nice garden. I'm not interested in something huge with 14 bedrooms. Although if someone offered it to me, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. For grabs, I wouldn't turn it down. But that sort of property and areas like Harborne, Edgbaston, maybe Moseley, but it can be a bit rough and ready around there. Yeah, a bit dicey. But you know what, I love that. Love that sort of property.
Traditionalist.
Yeah. Okay. And but my fiance, on the other hand, she is been growing up in Eastern Europe. They didn't have houses, so she finds houses like incredibly odd things to live in. Like, really? What do you do here? Like, why? You
get lost in all this space.
What's this garden thing? Oh, I don't. I'm a bit confused by it.
Who keeps that?
Yeah, exactly. And like, what? No, where's the management company when the roof leaks?
No, that's ours. Yeah.
But so she just really wants.
So you're staying in the city for a while then?
I'm staying in the city for a while. So apartment with a nice terrace, big living area, nice bedroom.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. But I think that's something we've noticed as well in terms of the European style of living, which is very much apartments, and it's very much a rent society as well, whereas the English and the British, we must buy early, we must buy property, we must have a house, not leasehold. So but I think again the city being quite multicultural now over the years, and you've seen it in the city itself, there's so many apartments going up that trend has shifted into a more European way of living. So you'll be there for a while, I think.
To be honest, I love the city centre, and I've lived in the city centre now for about 12 years.
Right,
And I actually really, really love it. And there's something nice about that convenience of being close to everything, close to the action.
And having to get a taxi home.
Stumbling distance as well, really important. But also that the best developments all have that really lovely community feel. Like and that's incredible. And you don't get that. You do get that in the suburbs, but it's not so intensely, not so on top of each other, I think.
Okay, brilliant. All right, well, thank you very much for joining us, Phil. And as I said, good luck with the opening in a couple of weeks. Look forward to the invite.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, please do like and subscribe. And get in touch if you've got any questions for Phil. We'll happily put you in touch if you've got any wine questions.
Brilliant.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
One take, apart from the phone. So sorry about that.